My name is John Boswell. I'm the Associate Athletic Director for Marketing and Promotions here at UMass Lowell. And I thank you all for joining us tonight for our third installment of Friday Night Lights presented by Jeanne D'Arc Credit Union. Tonight, as we look back on the championship runs and postseason success of Riverhawks soccer from 2011 and 2018. We're blessed to have both coaches from the program here, as well as a number of our alumni. And I know we have a number of our current Riverhawks on the call as well. So we look forward to this being an interactive event. The Q&A is open right now. If you have questions you want to have asked throughout the night, we'll open up the chat in just a few minutes once we get going to give it a time to avoid any Zoom bombers. If you use social tonight and you want to grab a screen grab or show us where you're joining us from, tag us with hashtag Friday Night Lights or hashtag UML DubSoc. And we do have a couple prizes we can give away at the end of the night as well. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Bob Ellis. I'm going to get out of the way and hide myself. And Bob, take us away as the MC of tonight's event.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Good evening and welcome. I am Bob Ellis. John Boswell told you that. This is Friday Night Lights. He told you that as well. It is the women's soccer edition. Right now, we find these United States in a national health crisis. We're still counting votes in a presidential election. College sports in general has been put on hold. And I suspect all of our lives have in one way or another undergone some sort of change. We hope that Friday Night Lights will help fill the void, keep you in touch with UMass Lowell Athletics, and also allow for a little bit of fun. We hope as we gather tonight, this high-tech gathering, we hope it finds you healthy, safe, and in good spirits. We will focus tonight on two women's soccer seasons, the 2011 and the 2018. Now, separated by 7 years, each of those seasons featured a team taking a big step in its growth. There were similarities, but each was markedly different. Each, in a lot of ways, was rather unique. The 2011 Riverhawks finished their conference schedule at 10-3-2. They were 11-6-4 overall. They played in the Ncaa Tournament for the 5th time in 7 years. But for the first time in the team's history, they made it to the East Region Final. Riverhawks won twice on penalty kicks during that tournament run. I think as tonight progresses, we will hear penalty kicks talked about probably a great deal. 2018 team under the direction of, at that time, interim head coach Mira Novak knocked off Vermont and Stony Brook on its way to the America East Tournament Championship game. Riverhawks went 7-9-5 overall, 4-3-1 in conference play. It was their first winning season in America East, the 7 wins, the most for the team since entering Division I. Now, as far as the panels that we have assembled tonight, 2011 panel. Representing 2011, we have Sarah Rain. She was a sophomore defender on a team that I guess you'd say its trademark was stingy defense. We also have a pair of goalkeepers, I guess, keeping with that stingy defense theme, if you will. We have with us Jill Carlson and Jane Constantis. Each played in 11 games. Carlson, a sophomore, had a 1.03 goals against average and 2 shutouts. He had 6 of the team's 11 wins. Constantis, a freshman, had 5 wins and 7 shutouts. Her goals against average was a minuscule 0.53. She was named to the Northeast 10 All-Rookie team. The head coach of that team is with us as well. That is Eli Montero. At the time, he was in his 10th season at the helm. In all, he led the program for a dozen years and earned 94 wins, the most in school history. He was twice named the Northeast 10 Coach of the Year. He is currently the head coach at Southern New Hampshire and has taken that club to the national tournament in each of the last 3 seasons. Now, as far as our 2018 panel is concerned, we have goalkeeper Julia Schneider with us. In 2018, she was a senior. She started 17 of the team's 21 games. She carried a 1.69 goals against average and had 5 shutouts. We also have the team's 2 top scorers, Rachel Morier and Emily Nelson. Morier, playing in her final season, led the team with 10 goals and 26 points. She was the America East Midfielder of the Year. Nelson, meanwhile, was a freshman. Second with 7 goals and 16 points. She had 3 game-winning goals and was a member of the America East All-Rookie team. Also joining us is the current assistant coach, that is Andrea Morrow. She had wrapped up her playing career the year before. She was a stalwart defender for the Riverhawks. And in addition to that, sits 10th on the Division I career scoring list, highlighting her contributions, rather significant ones, to the program at both ends of the field. And finally, as well, we have the head coach of that 2018 team, Mira Novak. He is the current head coach. He was at that time in his first year leading the program. Officially, he was the interim head coach. In each of his 2 years as the boss, the team has earned a spot in the America East Tournament. Mira, by the way, played semi-professional soccer in the Czech Republic following a collegiate career at St. Francis Xavier University in Canada. He earned all Canadian honors. Anyway, as I should mention, we'll divide the conversation into a couple of halves, or maybe have it as 3/3. We're going to start off with 2011, and we'll start by looking at a video or slideshow that was put together by the very talented Aaron King. So let's take a look at kind of 2011 in photographic review.
The UMass Lowell women's soccer Riverhawks garnered national attention in 2011. Finishing the year at 11-6-4, Ellie Montero's squad advanced all the way to the East Region Final of the Ncaa Tournament for the first time in school history. Brittany Russo led the team that season with 10 goals and 21 points, while Jane Hatzi-Constantis and Jill Carlson were a standout duo in nets, combining for an .823 save percentage. The Riverhawks earned their fifth and final NCAA appearance at the Division II level in 2011 and advanced past the first round for the first and only time in program history. It also helped to solidify the foundation for the move to Division I and America East. Penalty kicks proved to be the story of the first and second rounds as the Riverhawks battled to a scoreless tie with Dowling before advancing on PKs 5-3. Then, in the upset of the tournament, the Riverhawks knocked off number 1 Bridgeport 3-2 on penalty kicks after playing to a 1-1 draw. Brittany Russo scored in the 65th minute of that contest, and goalkeeper Jane Hatzi-Constantis stopped a crucial penalty kick to lead the Riverhawks to that historic victory.
And with that said, we'll start it off. I'm just curious, we talk about it, when we talk about these things, we always seem to talk about postseasons and how do we do in the playoffs and that sort of thing. I'm curious, Jane, Jill, Sarah, Ellie, when you look back on the season, are those the games you remember, or are there other things that stand out in your mind if you're talking about 2011?
Would you like to go first?
Anybody who has something to say, Ellie, since you've opened your mic, let's start with you. I'm curious, is it a specific game that stands out, or are there other moments that jump to mind when you think of that year?
For me, I think the team I felt like was the most balanced we'd had in my time there. We had obviously 2 very talented goalkeepers, and as a former defender, I always start building the team at the back, right? We had a very strong defense with qualities that each individual in that back line, where each individual complemented each other, right? We had the ball winners, the good passers, the athletes. Same thing in the midfield. And then I felt like we had 2 very strong, capable forwards in Ncaa and Brittany, who both had a lot of speed and both really were hungry to score goals. So the recipe for success was there. And then it was just a matter of time of gelling and hoping that everybody stayed on the same page throughout the season.
Then let me ask you, okay, so you got a couple good goaltenders, you got a couple scorers, you got good defense. What did you anticipate when you're getting together in August, before you've ever played a game? In the back of your mind, what were you thinking was possible?
Our goals were to just, finish in the top 4. every year, and then have an opportunity to get a home game in the postseason. And then beyond that, anything can happen. So I don't remember us setting more goals than that. Obviously we want to do as well as we can in the postseason, but finishing in the top 4 was always the number one goal for us going into any season, at least as a staff.
Sarah, Jane, Jill, what do you remember about 2011 before we get to what you might have anticipated? But what stands out in your mind about that year?
Just going off of what Ellie said, I do remember that as we were getting, towards the postseason, we were definitely taking one game at a time, where like we weren't looking, 2-3 games ahead of us. So like, oh, who might we play if this happens? So it was like taking every opponent as they were for that next game. And I think that's what ultimately led us to have a lot of success in the postseason, which was awesome.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that for sure. Going off of what Ellie said, with just the fact that he was really great at pulling together all of these different ingredients that kind of meshed well together, and finding each and every different talent in someone that just really combined everything and everyone's toughness and, good aspects into their game. And I remember during that season, I was dealing with a difficult injury at that time. So I was just trying to make it through each game and really push forward and try to do the best that I could do for the team at that time. And being younger and a little bit more naive at that time, it was, hard to understand that really big picture, but knowing that it was truly important that we're doing something very big.
Jill, any thoughts?
I'd say probably what I remember the most from that season is having leadership on the team that demanded a lot from us. They had really high expectations. And so just working really hard every practice before every game. I also remember Jane coming onto the team and sort of all of a sudden this rivalry sparked. But I think looking back on that, it's probably one of the things I'm most grateful for throughout all the years, because we never let each other slip up. We never let each other sleep. It was always constantly pushing that other person to do better and be better. So just great leadership and working really hard is what I remember.
I was going to ask about the goaltending rivalry that developed. And since you bring it up, Jill, I'll throw it this way to Jane. You're a freshman. You're coming in. There's already a goaltender there. What's going through your mind? You're a youngster from Tewksbury coming to the university.
I was like way too cocky for my own good. I was like coming off of a really great high school season, a pretty good club season. And I was like, I went in really confident and was just like, I'm going to get this. And then I realized how great Jill was. And I was like, damn it. And she's right. Like, it really made us be the best, that we had to be on our game 24/7, which was freaking exhausting. But it made me like one of the best goalkeepers I think that I could have ever been in those 4 years that I was there. So I think like at times, it was tiring and tough, but I mean, we made it through, and like I think we both had really great careers there, and it honestly made us better people, and we're good now.
Now, what were you thinking, Jill? Here's this freshman coming in who, by her own words, she just said she's a little cocky then. What were you thinking?
I was thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Because we had lost the other goalkeeper that year, who was my year. So I was like, I'm in the clear. I'm good to go. This is going to be a cakewalk. This is a breeze. And then Jane came along and I was like, well, we'll see what she's got. And then she was really good. But to her point, yeah, I mean, we had to work for it. Every single practice was, how can we level up? We have to prove ourselves. Like that game time wasn't guaranteed. And I don't think I did play in the Sweet 16. And that just went to show, right? Like you had to be working. So it was, it all worked out for the best, and we are good now.
So now, Ellie, you're the head coach. You got two apparently terrific goalkeepers, and you knew it. You brought them in. For you, did you go in with a set plan of who was going to get to play when, or was it more, rather than having a set plan, just wait and see and respond as a head coach to what you saw on the field?
Yeah, I think the plan was to basically have them figure it out for us, right? We always said that we would throw everybody in the deep end, and then whoever was not just treading water but thriving was gonna get the call. So after every practice, Eric, the goalkeeper coach, and I would be sitting down talking about how practice went during his portion of practice while I was with the field players. And, we'd get the report. And then we would constantly be discussing whether it was the right thing to go with one goalkeeper for basically the season, or whether each of them were earning their way on the field. And, we really couldn't decide between, again, the strengths that they both brought to the table. Technique, athleticism, distribution, positioning. They again had a combination of things that we could use. And so because they were earning the right to play in every practice, we decided to have them split games.
Now, Sarah, I've got a question. You've referred to the injuries and so on and so forth. I'm curious how tough it was to get out and be on the field each game. Was that a constant struggle?
That's a fair question. The difficult aspect to my injury was that no one knew what it was right away. Even I didn't know. And some days it was more difficult than others to run or to do certain movements because there was just a different piece like in my knee moving around. So it wasn't your typical MCL, ACL injury. And the only way we really discovered what it was is because the surgeon that I had it happen to him. So it was difficult in my position trying to figure out how to relay it to coach that I wasn't lying and for him to believe that I wasn't lying. And at the same time, being able to play and just push through it. And I think at some point we kind of just came to a certain point where we realized that, I really want to play and I'll do whatever I have to play. And we just pushed on and I pushed through it and it was what it was. I had to wear a brace so that I didn't feel like it was going to fall off, but it is what it is. If you really want to play, you're going to play no matter what.
So what drove you? Why do you have that attitude of if you're going to play, you're going to play?
I guess that's really all in your heart. You can't write it in a book. You can't tell someone to be it. You just have to have it. And I think Ellie really was special and unique in that way. If he chose players that he knew had that, it wasn't necessarily the way they turned or found a pass or whatnot. It was how they continued and prospered through their game and their career.
I know with most teams, it doesn't matter how many people are back from the previous year. Each team is different and develops its own identity. Is there a point in the season where things, as you look back at this 2011 season, were there points in the season where suddenly all the pieces fall into place, the puzzle fits together? And that's open to anybody from this crew.
Yeah, I would have to say for sure. Like Jill and Jane said, I believe 100% that it went back onto leadership during that time. They held us accountable to a very high level. And I think because of that, we were able to really show our true, being and as a team, as well as, compatibility. And like Ellie said, we just really came together and we really meshed very well. And it was, really eventful in that season.
There's a particular point, and I have some recollection of the season because I'd stand over on the sidelines and take pictures, but I kind of remember it being a little bit of a roller coaster at times emotionally. And the pieces did suddenly all come together. Is there some event, some game, some moments that it all comes together? Now, Sarah, you pointed to the leadership and they've got a role to play, but I think at some point, for whatever reason, pieces fit together. And I don't know if you can pinpoint a moment that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Jane, Jill, do you feel like there was a moment?
I can step in here. For me, first of all, I felt like at the beginning of the season, very first game, I think we played against CW Post at AIC, maybe in that sort of early season, opening tournament.
Ellie, I think you've accidentally muted yourself.
Sorry, apologize. The very first tackle that Amy Kramer went into, I felt like she was a player that was going to play a string of 3 or 4 games and then get suspended and red carded for another couple, right? Because she went in so hard. First of all, that set the tone for the season for us, for me anyway. But the turning point for me was the loss in the first round of the NE10 tournament to Southern New Hampshire at Merrimack. You're going to ask why we played, at Merrimack. We should have hosted the game because we, again, earned the right to have that home game. But it had snowed. I don't even remember how many inches, but the grass was covered. We had to train on the what is the field hockey team, the Smurf turf now. So, it was a training session where, they cleared snow off the field. So we didn't have full width, but we had enough to sort of make it work. I think it might've been Halloween as well. You guys can jump in and correct me. The team was pretty much in costumes. We're trying to get some work done. We had to sort of also remind ourselves that, being in the playoffs is fun. Halloween is fun. And we had probably done most of the work throughout the season to prepare for that game. So, it wasn't like we needed to tell Ray, what her options were after she received the ball from Gia or Hannah, Marula or whatever. So it was more of a light session. But anyway, we went through that game. I felt like we underperformed. And granted, SNU was really, really fired up to play us because we'd probably beat them during the regular season. And our minds just weren't right. We just weren't exactly where we needed to be. We had a powwow after the game that lasted a few minutes. I remember the parents waiting for the team to break up and commiserate, I guess, with the players. But immediately after the game, we went over to more of the middle of the field to air out some stuff. And I felt like after that, we sort of refocused, and recognized how, again, how talented the team was and that we could maybe be letting an opportunity go by if we didn't, get back on the same page. You guys can certainly jump in, and talk about that.
Now, come on, Sarah, Jane, Jill. What were you thinking after his alma mater went and beat us in the first round of the Northeast 10 tournament? What was going through your mind? I mean, you must have felt, hey, we're a pretty good team. This is going to be a pretty good season. And that was an abrupt ending to at least the Northeast 10 season.
I feel like that was a moment for us where we were like, wow, like we could actually not make it to NCAAs because of this. That was a moment where we were just like, because we weren't as focused as we could have been, like we knew that we were really, really good, but everybody else looks at that as a loss, right? And we know our potential, but like we didn't prove it that day. So once we got to NCAAs, I think that was our moment where we were like, all right, we're going to show everybody what UMass Lowell is all about.
All right, let's get to the end. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember a shift in the feeling of the practices too, of like extreme accountability. And I forget who it was, but I remember we were doing this one drill where the goals were super close together. And I want to say it was Jackie turned around. I wasn't doing as well as I should have been. I remember she turned around and she yelled at me. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, that hurt so bad. But she was right. You're not doing what you're supposed to be. So step it up. And so it became this sort of culture of like, we're going to lift each other up, but like, you need to take some accountability if you're not exactly where you're supposed to be. So there's definitely like a shift in the tone after that.
I had said at the outset, as I was doing the introduction, we'll talk about PKs and penalty kicks a great deal. And we really haven't yet, but the conversation's been interesting. Now we get to the NCAA tournament, and what is it? Dowling's a scoreless tie, 5-3 win penalty kicks. Bridgeport 1-1 tie, and I think they were top seeded, and a 3-1 win penalty kicks. Well, we got a couple of goalkeepers here. And I got to ask, what goes through your mind in that situation where it's just you and a shooter and there's nobody else around to help?
I think you just have to go in confident and be like, and know that you're going to save it, even if you feel like you're not going to. Because if you go in with that confidence, and that kind of throws the forward off too a little bit, being able to kind of read the way that they set up, sort of their demeanor, walking up to the penalty kick too. It's really 50% of it's a mind game. The other 50% is, can you be quick and react to a shot? So if you're confident, that's half the battle right there.
I think also going into it knowing the pressure's not really on you as a goalkeeper. They're supposed to make that shot. So if you can do everything you can to get in front of it, then you're doing your job at that point, right? Like, in theory, the person taking that PK should be making that shot. So just, yeah, exactly. Like Jane said, kind of a mind game.
I'm curious, Ellie, you're a coach, you're on the sidelines. There's nothing you can do. You can't take the kick. You can't make the save. Do you kind of just keep your fingers crossed and keep your mouth shut?
Leading up to that experience, we had, as a program, we'd been scarred by penalty kick losses. In 2006, we lost in penalties to Pierce in the first round of the NCAA. In 2009, we lost to Merrimack in the first round of the NCAAs. In 2010, we lost to Merrimack in the NE10 in penalties. And I was, you're always trying to figure out how to prep our players who score in practice, but can't, basically replicate that sort of approach come game time. So during that year, we decided to take a different approach, and we just had them walk from the halfway line. So that, at the very least, that trek from midfield and back would be something that they've already experienced. And then, you try to have the rest of the group who are all waiting at the midfield stripe heckle the players as much as possible, create that sort of distracting atmosphere. And, whether that put them at ease come the actual game, who the heck knows? But for me, I'm standing there on the sideline and I'm just basically writing down who made it and who didn't for both teams, so that I'm not running on the field prematurely or really, breaking down and sobbing prematurely. That's what I do on the sideline.
Sarah Ray, what goes through your mind in that sort of situation?
Don't bleep it up. You really just don't want to mess up. You want to do everything that you can to be the best for the team. At that point, it's just when you're called upon, you have to do what you have to do. It's just stepping up to that moment. It's really hard, but you get to a point where you're able to kind of shut out everything else. I don't think I was at that point yet in my career at UMass Lowell, but I definitely wanted to get there and really believed in that. So.
All right. At this point, I want to shift gears to 2018. And I want to, as we did with 2011, start off with a little bit of video to watch again, produced by Aaron King, who's absolutely terrific. But some of the highlights from the 2018 season. right, so there was a quick look at 2018. I'll remind people the panel from the 2018 team, goalkeeper Julia Schneider, top two scorers, Rachel Morier and Emily Nelson, joined as well by assistant coach Andrea Morrow and head coach Mira Novak. And I'll ask anybody who wants to jump in, as I said before, to the 2011 group way back in August. You're getting together on campus. You don't know what the season holds. We were, at that point, still relatively new to Division One. What are you thinking back in August about what lies ahead? I don't know if you want to start us off, Coach.
I will. It was, as you said, Bob, it was my first season as a head coach. I had been the assistant the year before with Frankie D'Agostino. And so we felt strong about the recruiting class that we had coming in. We brought in 11 players. We knew a lot of them. You know, Emily is obviously on the call. She was a freshman in the year. We felt that that class was going to be very impactful, but it was a lot of unknowns. You know, Frankie departed for a different job, and I think I took over officially 2 or 3 days before preseason started. So we were preparing all summer with a lot of unknowns, but with such a big class coming in, you want to evaluate them properly before. And so I feel the training camp and out of conference was a lot of testing out things. We had ideas going into the season, how we wanted to play, what we wanted to do, and we had to change it on the fly to kind of get the best out of the team. So for us, the big goal, and for me personally, I know obviously Rachel and Julia had served the program for 4 years before very well, and I wanted them to kind of depart on the high. That was their last chance. I know that future was bright with a lot of these young recruits that would guarantee us some good future, but obviously wanted to help the seniors to leave on high. So I think the pressure was on. I think all of us felt it. I think all of us were a little bit frustrated early during out of conference schedule because we were learning about each other on the go. And I knew it was progress, and for us the big goal was to get into playoffs. As a Division I program at the time, we had not made it to playoffs in Division I before, so there was the number one goal. Going through the out of conference schedule, it was really about learning how to play before learning how to win. And when we stepped on the field against Hartford, which was the first game of conference schedule, we lost that game. I was a little bit worried about which way we were going to go, because we had a really tough start. We went to Hartford, we played home Albany, next game then UNH, like all very, very good programs. So I wanted to make sure that we had a good season, to make sure that Rachel and Julia and all the other seniors have a positive experience. And the way it finished, obviously we ended up one step short, but it was a lot of fun. Just looking at the schedule, and every single game there's emotions attached to it. I remember every single game by the emotions and what happened in the game, how we felt, rather than just by the result. So I don't know how Julia, Rachel, how you felt, going into that preseason, because I know it was a little bit crazy summer, and obviously such a big class coming in. It was new for you guys.
Well, let's ask Julia and Rachel, and I will add to that. I think this was the third coach you'd played for. Now in your fourth year, and Rachel, I think you were actually a graduate student, but this is the third coach you're playing for. What are you thinking back in August?
I had a lot on my mind in August. I had surgery in the fall. I had just come off my best season. And I specifically, to this day, remember our last game the year before. We were at Maine on their little square field, and we were playing, and if I think we had to tie or win, like we didn't even have to win. We had to tie, and I had made like 4 or 5 saves over the bar. Like we were cooking, like we were going, like I could feel it. And there was a PK called in like the 89th minute or something, and this referee was a bleep. He was like, I don't even know what the PK was about, but I was like so mad. And at one point he was like, "You need to calm down, little Missy." And this girl just took the PK, sank it, and we were done. And I was so angry. Like I was like, we had just learned how to play. We had just got the new coach. We had tied, I think, 7 or 8 games that season. We had went 110 minutes for 7 or 8 games. So I was like anxious. Like I wanted to get back on the field. Like I wanted to like have redemption. We also had a huge class, a lot of foreign girls. So I was nervous because I wanted them to like become part of the team, but that's tough, you know, like that's a whole different culture that we have to immerse them in, not just soccer, but also like in America. So I was nervous and anxious, but I also felt like we had completely switched the way we played. We like with a brand new coach last year, and it was paying off. So I was like, we are going to do good things. I knew we were going to do good things, but it was just a matter of making sure that like we could get everyone to mesh in time. That's how I felt.
Rachel, what were you thinking?
Yeah, like Julia said, I was hopeful. I was so excited for the season. The other one didn't like end the way we wanted to, but going in, like we had this new class, we had a bunch of really good players, and it was just it was time. It just took time for them to just acclimate to that, like the team and like being able to play with each other. It just took time, and it was frustrating at first, especially in the out of conference games, because we went in with like so much hope, and like game after game we like didn't win, and it was frustrating. But then like conference hit, and the first obviously game was not great, but after that it kind of just like you could just kind of feel it. People just started playing better, playing harder. Like there's so much more at stake when you're in conference, and then we just kind of clicked. And I think yeah.
Now, I've got to ask Emily Nelson, you're a freshman coming into this program, and you're probably, I don't know, were you wondering what the heck's going on, or did you have great faith in the future?
Obviously, like everyone said so far, our class coming in was huge. So like, I think we almost made up half of the team at that point. There was 11 or 12 of us new girls. So coming in, a lot of us didn't know what to expect. And we were obviously excited, but we were a little bit nervous because it was a big change, obviously, from high school to college. And like Rachel said, out of conference game and in conference game is so different. And Mira was, after out of conference happened, Mira was like, okay, this is where we're really going to put our foot to the pedal. Like, this is where you got to focus and play together. And obviously in the beginning of the season, like everyone's new, you're trying to get acclimated, you're trying to learn and see how people play. Towards the end of the season, Rachel's right, we like started pulling it together, playing better, had a better mentality, and we were really like building our confidence going into the playoffs.
You mentioned, okay, I've got to jump on that. Suddenly we're playing better. Was there some moment that those pieces came together, or was it just kind of an accumulation of experience to that point in the season? Or is there some moment that somebody can put their finger on and say, here's where it came together, here's where we became a very good team?
I think that for me, at least, it was at Hartford when we lost, I don't know, what was it, like 4-2 or something like that. And oh my gosh, afterwards, I was just so angry, like so angry. And like we were playing and like I think we were playing well and we had chances, if I can remember correctly. Like we had so many chances and they were just got some like lucky breaks, and it was just so frustrating. And then all of a sudden we were just like, we need to do better. Like that was so unacceptable that we couldn't like put a few away and win that game. And like that's just when it like the season like flipped for me.
I'm curious. I'm going to ask Mira here. Everybody talks about how tough the non-conference schedule was. And I'm trying to remember if I had talked to you at the time, or maybe I'm thinking of another year. And we talk about having a very tough non-conference schedule for a reason. It was almost designed that way to kind of get us to raise our game to another level. Am I remembering the season correctly?
There was a year later, actually, we had even tougher. I think this one was tough for where we were as a program. You know, you look at it, and I think, you know, few moments in the season that I would remember, we started off with a trip to Chicago and went to play Loyola Chicago and Depaul. And anything that could go wrong in that game at Depaul went wrong, you know. And I think, you know, looking back at it, I appreciated. We lost 7-0. You know, I don't think I've ever lost as a coach that badly and felt grateful for it, because I genuinely feel, you know, the way, you know, with so many freshmen, we deserved it. You know, I think the standards at the time were low. I think the players were kind of happy just to be there. And, you know, we had a competitive game, the first one on Friday night, and Loyola ended up 4-2 losing, but it was good. It was competitive. We go to Depaul. Julia had to come off 20 minutes in with an injury. It was like 110 degrees on turf. So we had, you know, players dropping off as, you know, heat strokes, and you know, Courtney Coleman broke her collarbone. So it was kind of disastrous game, and you know, we use it, you know, second half, we put some players on the field just to get an experience of what it's like playing in Division I games. And I think after that game, there was a wake up call, like, this is not good enough. We have to do better. And the standard is much higher than what we're showing right now. So, you know, that start was pretty tough. Then we had a few games that I think were winnable. You know, we tied Colgate at home. We had St. Bonaventure. We were up 3-1 with 10 minutes left, and let in 2 bad goals at the end. So it was another tie. Then we had I think we had NJIT. So you know, again, like, weird game, lost 1-0, and finally went to Sacred Heart, won 3-0. And that was the first boost, like, okay, like, here it is, like, we can win games, we can go ahead. So you know, Rachel, what she said, it was spot on. The first game of conference, Hartford, it was like another level up. Like, if we want to compete, we need to raise the level. And we did, because the next game we had Albany at home, and we executed very, very well. You know, they were one of, I would say, top 2-3 teams probably in conference. We beat them 2-1. And, you know, for me, the biggest win personally was I think it was the 4th or 5th game at Binghamton. Because we went to Binghamton, it was a tough road game, and we just went there, lost a bad goal like very early on, like 5 minutes in, and we came back. You know, Emily scored a hat trick. It finished 3-1, and it was, to me, that was the first time I really felt that this team can do something. You know, I felt, you know, wins, low, you know, highs and lows, wins, losses. You try not to go too high or too low. But after the game, like, I was on cloud 9. Like, I was like, this is the team I want to see on the field. And I think, at least from my perspective, I feel confident we can just go beat anybody in conference. All
right, I've got to ask you, Andrea, you'd finished your playing career the previous year. I remember seeing you around, and I don't remember if you were coaching yet, but I remember seeing you in the stands and around the team. And as a person who'd been a rather passionate player, you're now watching this team. What are you thinking as you're watching this 2018 team kind of grow and make some strides?
Great question. So I joined in 2013. So I actually played for Ellie my first year. And to see it go from our first year in Division I to that last year that I was playing, and now even coaching, the strides the program has made is tremendous. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes in coaches and whatnot, but each one, it just seemed like someone brought, you know, something different to the program. And Mira mentioned earlier when we were all discussing, the university, how it looks different, and then even micro into the program, you can tell that the profile of the player is different. I think that everyone is definitely growing in upward trajectory. Obviously, you can tell just by the fact that we went from not even making it into the playoffs to making it to the final. And the following year, we fell short, but we still made it and qualified to play in the playoffs. So the style of play has been more consistent. The level of player has been very high. And I think we're definitely in good hands with Mira moving forward.
A question eventually to Emily, but in setting it up, I want to say you're there. Rachel Morier is an established star. She would have a 4-goal game at one point in the year, so on and so forth. Now, Mira, in talking about the season, pointed to your hat trick. I'm curious, you come in as a freshman. There are some established leaders. There are established stars. Does it take a while for you as a freshman to get the confidence to step up and at times say, I'm the person that's going to carry us through this?
Yeah, so definitely it did. So coming in, obviously, you have to prove yourself, and nothing is given, obviously. So it was big for me to just try to get out there and prove myself and like show that I can play. And not only that, but the game that Mira was talking about, the Binghamton game that I scored 3 goals, I scored those goals, but that was definitely a team win. Like KV's awesome cross for the header, like the assists that were made that game, that was a team win that allowed us to do that and like have us build our confidence. And the leadership on our team that year, like they held us to a standard that they expected us to meet, and it pushed us to meet it every game. It allowed us with like Rach. She was obviously someone that I looked up to in similar role and position that I played along with her, and she helped me like grow so much as a player and a leader and stuff. So both of them were really influential to me.
Bob, can I say one thing?
Yes.
I think there were freshmen coming in that year that I felt they were literally starstruck by Rachel, and that they couldn't believe they're on the same field. Like she was that much. And just listening to her and Julia speak, it's just so obvious that they were winners, like they just wanted to win and they knew this was their last shot. And like exactly what Emily said, they just drove the standards and they just pulled the team together with them.
Now that leads exactly where I was going. Rachel, I mean, you had been a dominant player for several years in America East. This is the last shot. Julia, you've been terrific, but you're a senior. This is your last shot. For the two of you, did you kind of almost go into the year, and the other seniors that were on the squad go into the year, say, this is the point that we've got to do it because we're not going to have a chance after this year?
I think that Mira reminded us of that after every single game. I was like ready to kill him. I was like, I know it's my last year. Stop telling me. But yeah, no, you definitely felt that way. And like I said, it was frustrating at the beginning, like everyone said, because we had such better like caliber of player, like overall like skill, and like our freshmen and everything were just so much better than they had ever been before. So like we knew that we would get there, but it was like, we need this to pan out. Like we need to get it moving. So I think a lot of it was that, and me and Rachel just like wanting to win. And I think that it just like, it's not something like I was such a hardo. I guess I kind of am still in my life, but and it was like, people were like, I couldn't even like help it. I was like, come talk to me, like I'm nice, but I was just like, you can't help it. Like, it's just something that like, it just like, you needed to do it. I don't know. It's kind of how I felt. Like me and Rachel used to talk after the games and would be like, no, we just like need to do it. Like that would like where the conversations would go. Like we lived together and we'd be like, we just need to do it. And that would be like the end of the combo.
Rachel, what were you thinking? Last chance? This was the year? And I'd watch you along the sidelines. I was a lot closer to you, where you were playing on the field than Julia, but I could see in you a tremendous passion, determination. There were some nights, I swear, you were just saying, I'm not going to let this team lose. Not to suggest it was ever a one-man or one-woman show, but I want to know what your mindset was, because it just seemed to me that you were absolutely determined that this year was going to work out far better than the others had?
Definitely. I mean, to me, it had to. It was our last chance. It was like, do it this year or never do it. And I wanted to go all the way. So with Julia and like the other seniors, especially Julia and I, we were just like she said, we just like talk about it like probably every day. We just feel like, wow, like we just need to do it. Like we can like pull the team together, and it just takes a little bit of time, but yeah, I mean, it just had to happen because we had no other time.
Now, for everybody in this 2018 group, when I introduced head coach Mira Novak, I pointed out that year it was not head coach, it was interim head coach. And I don't know, Mira, if you felt a little pressure because it said interim before it said head coach. I don't know, Julia, Emily, Rachel, if it was something that you thought about, that we've got to step up, this guy's job might be on the line. I don't know if that has anything to do with the season, but I've always been curious how that interim tag sat with everybody involved.
To be honest, I don't think it made a difference in anything that we did. Like, he was our coach. He was our coach the year prior. It didn't have head in front of it, but it didn't matter, at least to me. I don't know if it mattered to anybody else. I was grateful that they didn't go and handpick another coach from the middle of nowhere and give us a third rando. Rachel played for like 3 coaches in 4 years, like craziness. So I was really grateful that they did that. And I think that they were very difficult on Mira in terms of like, they knew too, like UMass Lowell, they knew like this is going to be our third coach in X amount of years. So they were tough on the process and tough on him. They wanted to make sure that like, there wasn't going to be a 4th or a 5th in the next year and 2. But yeah, no, I don't think that changed it at all. He was our coach. Like, we didn't feel anything like that. Like, I don't know. He was just, we were going to win because we wanted to win, and he was our coach like he was the year prior. That's how I felt.
Mira, did you feel pressure?
No, not from that perspective. To me, it didn't really, matter. Maybe administration could speak about it a little bit differently, but to me,
we don't want to hear from them.
I just wanted to, help them, and I just wanted to, like my daily job, it never affected me. I just wanted to do the best in terms of, on the field, recruiting, everything associated with the program. So it never, it was never on my mind. I enjoyed the process, and it was obviously, it was a lot of fun. I don't know if any of the student athletes felt differently, but yeah, as you said, like the first season was just so much fun. Like now I'm just sitting here and it's November 6th, and we'd be probably still playing, or like last weekend would have been actually conference championship. It's you just think back and you're so grateful that it happened. You know what I mean? Like, just as I said, like every single game, there's just memories and, things that have been said and even the training sessions, leading to some of these games, because, every team that we play against play a little bit differently. So we try to tailor the sessions to it. And yeah.
We get into the postseason. Take on Vermont first. It ends up being a 0-0 tie after a lot of soccer after 110 minutes. And then I think we went at 4-3. Check my notes, 4-3 in penalty kicks. Now, we heard goaltenders talk about penalty kicks earlier. We heard Jane and Jill, and I think Jane was the one that talked about it being a little bit of a mental confrontation. Rachel Morier, I remember seeing you take a whole lot of penalty kicks over the years. What goes through your mind? Is it a mental battle as much as it is just being a good shooter, or a physical battle, or is there a mental side to this penalty kicks thing?
It's for sure the majority of it is mental. I mean, you have to be able to take a penalty kick and place the ball, but it's like, I remember, what season was it? It was like my junior year or something. I took a PK against Binghamton and I missed. the keeper saved it, so I missed. And after that, like, that was devastating to me, and I was like, I will never miss another PK, because that was the worst feeling in the world. So yeah, I took quite a few over the next like 2 years, but for that Vermont game, I actually didn't have to take one because I was the 5th one up. And thank you, Julia, for saving that PK, because I would have had to take it. And just so, like, you get so nervous. It's like just a mind game of like being able to tell yourself, like, don't be nervous. Like, you have this. You have to just like block out all your emotions so that you can just like take a PK.
Julia, yeah, jump right in.
Well, it's funny because Rachel thanks me, but I think, like, honestly, like, my team, but also Emily, Kate, Vieira, and Rachel, because we killed that game. Like, first of all, that goalkeeper, I don't know who she was. I don't know. She killed it. Vermont's goalkeeper killed it. We were like 30-1 on shot something. Like, we should have won hours ago. It was the most frustrating. I think I had like done 2 plays, like picked the ball up rolling to me, and it was like 2 degrees outside. So they blew, and Mira's like, all right, teams, you ready? I'm like, no, it's 30 degrees outside, 22 degrees. I haven't moved in 45 minutes now. Am I ready to take PK? No, I'm not. But I was so confident in Kate and Rachel and Emily thinking they're PKs. I definitely have a little bit of a different like perspective than Jane. I'm not someone that comes off and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to save this and I'm going to mess with you. I just like I have to block out everything and just look at their hips because I don't like to guess. I'm small. I don't want to ever dive to one side of the goal and have it roll in the middle. That just like, I just can't do it. So I always look at their hips and just try to pick the right side. And so I had no idea when we won that we even won. I was like standing there and I was like, and then everyone started running and I was like, oh, okay, I can like celebrate now. But yeah, it's definitely a team effort. I mean, I think that like my confidence goes through the roof when I know that like Rachel and Emily and Vieira are the ones taking PKs because like I know they're going to score. So.
All right, Emily, talk to us about taking PKs. How does one find the back of the net?
I 100% agree with Rach. For me, it's all obviously you have to be able to finish the ball, but it's all mental. Like the walk up, the crowd, you just have to drain it out. And when you walk up to the ball, you have to pick that corner. You can't change your mind because if you change your mind, then that's when bad things happen. So for me, I just would walk right up, put the ball down, place it, pick a spot where I'm finishing, and just go for it.
All right, I want to at this point open it up to all panelists. I'm throwing this out to well, no, you know what? Let's talk about the Stony Brook game. 2-0 win against Stony Brook, and I trying to remember. I think they have been, well, they were one of the top ranked teams in the conference. What do you remember about that? And I remember, I think it was scoreless at halftime. And anyway, I'm just curious, those that played in it, what do you remember about it? And what are you thinking? Oh, somebody must have thought.
So it's interesting because going to playoffs, we finished the regular season at Vermont where we clinched, which was another cold game. And then we played home against Stony Brook and we lost in overtime. It was a very competitive game. And going into playoffs, we played Vermont in the first game. So, you know, we played them a week ago. And then in the second round, in semifinals, we playing Stony Brook, which we just lost. And we just basically just flipped the who's hosting the game. So now we're going to Stony Brook after losing to them 1-0 a week ago. And it was interesting. Like I felt we had a little bit chip on our shoulder. It was just a great day. A lot of people, I felt we were ready. And, it could have gone either way, but I think defensively we were very solid that game. Very, very solid. And then we actually scored a goal when we pushed Lily Fabian up as a striker for a little bit, and she just ended up scoring a good goal, putting us a goal ahead, and then we're defending for our lives, and it was I think with 5 minutes left when we scored that second goal that clinched it for us. So it was super competitive game. You could tell everybody was just like going on fumes. But that's what playing soccer in November is. It's playoffs, and that's what you have to do.
I'm gonna jump. I hate to do this. I'm gonna jump back to the game before that because we have a question from Tyler Legassi. He says, "What was the mood in your 2018 America East quarterfinal against Vermont? Were you feeling confident?" And let me ask Julia, Emily, Rachel, were you feeling confident? I guess a nod of the head works, but if you speak, it's
absolutely.
even better.
And I think we were feeling confident throughout the game too. Like we killed them. Like genuinely, that was the craziest game I think I've ever been a goalkeeper for because we killed them. Like I literally was like, this has to be a joke that we haven't scored yet. I mean, and props to their goalkeeper because she had a great game. But like, I was like, this is not going to PKs right now. So I think we were really confident. We played really well.
I'm going to add in there too. We were confident going into that game because we had just played them in conference, so prior to postseason, and we also dominated in that game. Like we were able to play the style of play. We didn't have to sacrifice, our style of play at all, and we clinched our playoff spot at their field away. So we were feeling good that we were able to host them at home, and also we were able to again play the way that we wanted to. And Mira, correct me if I'm wrong, we hit the post at least 4 times, the crossbar. It was unbelievable. We were both on our feet. Usually we can sit down for the majority of the games. We were near Julia's goal, standing, the other goalkeeper's goal, just standing there like this, could not believe how many times we hit the crossbar.
Yeah, it was 6 or 7 times we hit the crossbar or post, and there was the shots at the end of the game were 35-3. So, it was just a crazy game. We just, and you go into penalty kicks and like, this is the day, it's just not going to happen, and we delivered. So it was good ending. Obviously it was a happy ending, but, after outplaying and out shooting, another team 35-3, it just felt it's just not going to happen for us.
I guess I do want to ask, and I want to open this up to everybody, both the 2011 group and 2018 group. Do you guys see a direct line from one to the other? I had referred in my introduction to 2011 being part of the foundation that made the move to Division I possible. I wonder if those who were part of the 2018 team understand the contributions that came before them. And I wonder if the 2011 team looks proudly at where we are now and understands that they played a role in making it possible. And whoever wants to talk on this subject, please do.
Can I just say, I'll leave it to everybody because I don't want to be just stealing this, but just listening to all 4 of you talking about that 2011 season and the things you're mentioning, I feel that it hasn't really changed who we are at UMass Lowell and what that logo means. I don't really think it has changed that much. The division might have changed, the conference might have changed, the people might have changed, but we always stand for hard work. That's what you start with. And all of you guys mentioned that, hard work, some sort of unity or family or team chemistry, whatever you want to call it, like being together. You'll never win if you're just by yourself. Still the same, competitiveness, competing and really, Jeanne and Jill, you guys are competing for a starting spot and, making the best out of it, like, making each other better. I don't think that's changed. We'll never be a program where we can just take a seat back and just look really good. And no, we have to outwork everybody. We have to outplay everybody, and we want to do it the right way. So I just don't think that that's changed. And I think that foundation had been, laid by Ali, obviously, and the programs that or teams that he put together.
I just want to jump in and say that having worked my first 2 years under Ted Priestley, former men's coach, who was also the women's coach the first 2 years that I was on staff, he is the one who basically always said, earn everything, from your training gear to your warm-up gear to your travel gear to your playing time, earn everything. That was just something that we adopted once he turned the program over to us. But I do see a lot of similarities, right? We took over a program when, UMass Lowell women's soccer was basically at the cellar of the Northeast 10. And then we eventually built it up to a Sweet 16 team, in that 2011 squad. And making the conference tournament however many years in a row, making the NCAA tournament however many years. I see the current staff and, certainly the previous staff as well, doing everything they can to establish the program, to reestablish the program in this new conference. They have elevated things, as Dre mentioned earlier. We're fortunate enough to play them during the spring. And so we see the evolution of the style of play, the philosophy. We see the raise in level of player, athlete that they bring in. And it's really, really impressive. I'm not one who goes back and looks back at a lot of things. So this is very refreshing for me, and maybe I should start to pay attention to some of the work that I've been involved with in the past. But I love and appreciate the fact that Mira is always bringing that up whenever we run into each other, whenever we talk about the program and where it's headed. He certainly gives me a lot more credit than I deserve. I feel like the girls who played during all those years, they're the ones who were running the beep test, and they're the ones who were doing the double sessions, and they're the ones who were, buying what we were putting out there. So, and they believed in, Lowell as a university, as a program, even before we had anything to sort of, offer. And I see that in the way that Mira recruits his current players and the way that they buy into his philosophy. It's a great institution academically. It's a tough place to bring a female student athlete. It just is. And it's blue collar, and it's, in the inner city, and you have to believe in the school, and you have to believe in the staff to commit to coming there. And then obviously, just give into what they're trying to build. And that belief is what, establishes a regionally recognized program, a nationally recognized program. And I'm so pleased with what has been developed and built up to now. It's just really impressive. I'm really thoroughly enjoying watching them play soccer. That's something that I'm really proud of. So good job, Mira, Dre, keep it up.
I was going to say, Dre, you got this in my mind, pointing out that you played for Ellie. I'm just curious. You've been witness to kind of the change, the growth, the foundation having been set, and now taking the next step. I'm just curious your thoughts to those that preceded you, I guess.
My thoughts, oh gosh. Well, I would just say be grateful, because it really took a lot of hard work. I remember in 2013 when we only won one game, and we all come from winning programs, with our high school teams or our club teams. We were all used to being the best players that, we represented, and to show up and, have this idea of, okay, we're Division I athletes, we're very excited, and then lose and lose and lose. When you're so used to winning and having that success, it's really hard on you as, not just an athlete, but just as a person. So we went through a lot to get to where we are now. So I would say just keep up with your history, learn about the players before you, learn about the program before you, the staff, and remember, like, the jersey that you're wearing, although it's yours at the time, it wasn't yours before, and it's not going to be yours after. At the end of the day, it's the program that comes first, and we have to remember where we come from and where we're going.
Sarah, I notice you have your mic unmuted, so I'll ask you. as okay, you were part of 2011. As you watch the program now, do you see a connection to what you guys did on the field to where we are now? Do you think of yourself, maybe I'm being overly dramatic, but do you think of yourself as kind of one of the pioneers that made what we're doing now possible?
I would say definitely, not maybe in that confident of a way, but I would say for sure when I heard the fact that we were going D1, I lit up with just a fire inside of me that I knew I had deserved before and I knew I wanted, and it just made it all that much more better. The only thing that truly brought me into a space of, wow, I'm also going to be losing a coach that I had fallen, into a great relationship with at the same time. So it was this huge transition in so many ways that I wanted to do the best for my team, but also I was losing this great figure that I had in my life that I trusted, and then moving into a new, position. I moved into, center mid and all that. And I had to become a leader that I think that I always knew I had to be. And, Coach Ellie knew I was going to be eventually. So he really pushed me towards that, and transitioning to D1 was just this crazy, overwhelming thing that I just knew that I had to give everything I had, 110% every game, had to just keep pushing no matter how terrible we were doing, no matter how many passes we got strung, no matter how many goals were, scored against us. I just had to keep pushing forward because we were making history in a sense, or starting history rather. And we had to keep pushing forward to make that, push, because I don't know how you put it. It's just that the underdog will eventually be on top.
I'll throw out one other question in general to the group, because I think everybody's kind of at one point or another been on a little bit of a roller coaster, but as time went on, they succeeded. Is there a difference between being good enough to win and knowing how to win?
Yeah, I'd say there's a huge connection there. I think knowing how and being good enough definitely play a role into each other. You could also not be that good as a player, but if you knew how to just connect and do all the things right and be obedient, of course you can win. But I think interchangeably, they both really need to kind of go hand in hand.
I think it has a lot to do with mentality. I think Rachel and Julia are great examples of this. For example, when I played also in club with Julia for Stars, and I remember every time they would call a penalty, I would look in Julia's eyes and she would flip a switch. Like it's designed for her to lose in that situation, but she can just turn it on and looks like she's going to eat you alive. And I think that has a lot to do with her mentality and knowing how to win. And same thing with Rachel. Like, we used to make a joke that Rachel had one personality off the field and then she had one that was very different on the field. She actually had a nickname for that, but I won't share it. But I think it just has a lot to do with mentality. And as Ray had mentioned earlier, I don't think that's necessarily something that can be taught. I think that's just something that you have.
All right. I know we've been doing this for a while, and I suppose I ought to bring this toward conclusion, but I will note a question submitted says, what are the aspirations for the program once the team returns to campus, once the pandemic is over? So I guess Mira will throw that your way, although I suppose I could ask Ellie that as well, but to be honest, we're not as interested in the Penn men's future as we are in the Riverhawks. So Mira, if you'd like to take that one.
I think I can answer that for Ellie as well. We're all just dying to get on the field, and just get back to whatever the new normal will be. Our jobs, and I have no idea how Ellie does that with kids. It's 24/7, 365. Recruiting and coaching and it's crazy. And now not having that, or having that whole job description redefined, that you miss that. It is definitely a hard period for student athletes, for coaches, emotionally, mentally as well, to obviously be in this position, because we want to serve the student athletes and support them in the best way we can. And right now it's just twice as hard to be together and train the way that we normally used to. So I think that you know, we have talented team. We've built a you know, good core. I'm really looking forward to next couple of years, because I know a lot of the players in Emily's class, you know, and the class after, they were very young. They gained that experience. They're coming into, you know, their last 2 years of study. You know, we have high expectations of them. You know, we know that they're very talented. We want to, you know, get it out of them. You know, there's tons of potential, and it's really up to them what they want to do with it. You know, I think sky is the limit, and if they do the work, if they stay together, and if they don't lose that passion, you know, we're excited. It's going to be very different. Obviously, spring season, we've never been through that in the same way that it's going to look this spring. But you know, we're just excited to get on the field and do the best we can.
All right. I don't know if anybody else wants to throw comments out there, but if not, I'll wrap this up. So I'll wait a moment and see if anybody else wants to say something.
Really quickly.
Yes, please.
I miss you girls. I'm really proud, as I'm following you on social media, really proud of what you're up to. You know, I don't need to tell you, you know, you've developed into amazing adults, and you're gonna continue to do amazing things. Thank you for making me look so good so many years ago. And the current team, or the 2018 group, I'm a huge fan of yours, and whenever I can, I am turning games on and watching the current edition of the Riverhawks. So, you know, I'm always going to be a fan, and I'm sure Mira is going to continue to do great things with the club. And I can't wait to get back to campus to see all the new buildings and things, just so I can not recognize where I am.
Fair enough. I will say, for me, there's been a delight, because it's just good to see some faces that I haven't seen in a long time. Ellie, Jane, Julia, it's not as long a time, Jill, Sarah, Rachel. It's terrific to reconnect. Emily, I'll be watching you come the spring, so be on your best behavior, because I have a camera. And it's been a delight. And Dre, a long time we've seen each other, so we'll see you and Mira in the spring as well. Ellie, I don't know if you guys are playing in the spring or what the plans are on the Northeast 10. Shame on me, but I hope you guys have another terrific season. That seems to be a habit that you've established there, and tip of the hat to you for that. A thank you to everybody for taking part. And at this point, I should mention Jeanne D'Arc Credit Union made all of this possible, so tip of the hat to them for their support. I'll throw it back to John Boswell, because he may have other announcements that have slipped out of my head, because I'm old and I don't remember everything.
Bob, you know what? That's retirement. That's what you're supposed to do in retirement, is forget that. So I can't thank everybody enough for joining us tonight. All of our panelists, our coaches, past and present, and everybody who jumped in the attendee list. I know, again, I see a lot of familiar names from whether it's the current team or our alumni, and we will share the recording with you. If you tuned us out and you went in the other room or did whatever you need, we'll make sure you get that recording so you can catch up. And we hope to see everybody back in person at Cushing come the spring.
Thank you so much to everyone, for obviously to all the panelists for joining us tonight. I know for some of you guys, it's you're very busy, so thank you so much. Thank you to all the attendees and anybody who will watch this. But thank you so much. Appreciate it.